All right. Hi, my name is Tony Harris, and I am the head instructor of the Invicta Academy Jiu-Jitsu program. And if you're watching this DVD, you're probably someone who's either getting ready for their blue belt test or has just started attending the blue belt prep classes, and you want to have the material to get ready for the test at your disposal at any point in time. This is a big deal, okay? Taking your first test here, it kind of sets the tone and the standard for everything that you're going to do after this. So it's important that you pay attention to detail during the course of this DVD and during the course of your classes, whether it be blue belt prep class or regular classes, so you can get as much as you can out of the experience and start off progressively moving forward in rank properly, okay? The point of you doing these flows and these basic exercises during the blue belt test and the rolling is, there's a few points. Number one, this is combative, okay? So when you're doing the warm-up exercises, when you're doing that 100,000, the point of that is you're putting fundamental things in your body, like fundamental movements and adjustments and shifts, so that these things will come out naturally as a blue belt. Okay? If you're doing things that don't necessarily, like you're doing it so during the test it's easier and you can get through the 100,000 without being as tired, that's nowhere near as good as doing it in a way that it's going to help you out combatively in the future. And I'm going to be demonstrating how to do that with the 100,000 in a little bit. And the same thing applies with the flows, okay? With the flows, you absolutely need to do these like you would do them in a match. I'm not saying you have to kill your partner. What I am saying is if there's a movement that you're doing standing and it's supposed to be quick, it needs to be quick. And then if there's something that's supposed to be heavy, it needs to be heavy. If there's something where your head needs to be on the mat and you need to move it to flatten their back, you need to put your head on the mat and shift it and flatten their back and apply that pressure. Because we want these things happening naturally when you're a blue belt. It's never going through the motions. Everything, we're always learning something. We're never just doing things. Okay, so it's imperative that you understand that right now. The other thing, the blue belt test is not meant to measure what you've done up until this point as much as it is for me to be able to make sure that you have the foundation in place and lay in those last little things just to make sure that they're there so we can take you from blue to purple belt. So it's not about white to blue, it's about blue to purple and blue to brown and blue to black. That's what this blue belt test is about. It has really not much to do with what happened as a white belt. We have white belt world champions who, they go to the world championships and they win, and then people are like, oh, you're going to give me a blue belt on the podium? And it's like, no, they still got to go home and take the test and show that they're ready to move up to that rank. Because there are things that we need in place based on our Invicta Jiu-Jitsu system that are important for you to move forward to the next level, okay? Last but not least, the point of the test, it's a rite of passage, okay? You move through, everyone goes through that test, okay? The 100,000, everyone doesn't look forward to it, but everybody knows that it's good for them. The flows, everybody looks forward to showing what they know and what their strong suits are for their flows, okay? And then you've got the rolling. Some people look forward to it, some people don't. Usually most people during it aren't having that great of a time, but on the other side of that, you feel like you've done something, and you really have. Our blue belt test, our purple belt test, our brown belt test, our black belt test are probably the most sharpest, cutting edge, like powerhouse tests out there in the jiu-jitsu community. And the reason why is, we don't test where you are, we're not testing to see what you've done thus far, we're testing to see if we can take you from point B to point C. It is a mental challenge, it is physically challenging, it is strategically challenging, and it does test the will of your heart. So, it is what it is. I wish you the best of luck with your blue belt test. I wish you the best of luck with the prep classes. Train hard, train smart, and remember, go hard or go home. Okay, the first technique that we'll be starting off with the 100,000 is the guard arm bars. And what you need to understand is that I'm going to give a brief overview of this and some general checkpoints, but your blue belt prep instructor is the one that's going to go over a lot more details and some different strategies to help you out with this. I'm just going to give you the bullet points and a couple of tips. Okay, guard arm bars. You start off in closed guard, double wrist control. Okay, you keep double wrist control throughout this entire exercise. What you're going to do is do the footwork as if you're starting off with a normal arm bar. So you're going to put your foot on the hip, you're going to turn your body, bite up high in the armpit, throw the other leg over the head. Okay, this is your starting position. From here, you're going to open your leg and you're going to swing. So you're going to take it out and around, swing, and then you're going to use that as a pendulum. While penduluming, you're going to push off his body with the other leg. So you're going to kick and push simultaneously. And that will spin you on your back to the other side. So watch. We're here. Now we're on the other side. Notice, I hip up. You guys can see I hip up to the armpit to grab underneath the armpit and bite the head. That's one. Now I do the same thing to the other side. Open, swing, kick, push, hip up, catch. Open, swing, kick, push, hip up, catch. A lot of people try to cheat and not do the hip up at the end because their partner will be lazy for them and kind of lean on them and get low, but go ahead and pop up. It's not best for your jiu-jitsu that happens, okay? I'm not saying that during the test I would fail someone over something like that, but what I am saying is it's not best for your jiu-jitsu. You need to hip up into your attacks. It really helps you out a lot more. You're gonna find that helps you catch and finish submissions a lot faster and a lot better than just making it through. So do your guard arm bars just like that. Okay, now we're starting with the 100,000 technique, the triangle from closed guard. Generally speaking, in a normal match when you're doing a triangle, you're going to hip up. And I would like to see something like that here. There's a few different ways that you can do the triangle. Okay, you can do double wrist control, double sleeve control. What I mean by double wrist control is you're going to do a push through triangle. So you're going to pull one arm up to your shoulder, you're going to push the other one to their belly butt, and you're going to hip up and catch. If you have shorter legs, the hand that was holding the wrist switches to grab your own shin and pull it in, and you lock. You don't get the tap. You just release and they come back through. Okay? If you have longer legs, then you don't necessarily have to do that. You can just push through, hip up, and lock. Now, that's one of the ways you can do it. Another way, double sleeve control. One foot on the hip, one foot on the shoulder, hip up. Well, if you're cheating, like me, you can put your foot on their hip to do your hip up. So you can see right here on this side, a lot easier. I put my foot on his hip. Now, what I'd really like to see if you're super interested in acing this test in a mega way or making your triangles way better, when you do your hip up, I want your hamstring to hit super deep on their neck. Okay? So you're going to do a full extension hip up. This will make your triangle so much tighter when you lock it in versus if you do it a different way. If you do it another way, where you just kind of throw the crook of your knee over their neck, that's fine. You'll get the triangle. You might even get the tap right then against somebody who's not as tough, but it won't make your triangle tighter overall in the long run. What you want is that big hip up where the lower part of your hamstring, this part hits their neck. So we're here. That is a tight triangle. Right, Mr. Mace? Yes, sir. 100,000 triangle. Okay, mounted arm bars from the 100,000. First, you start off in a nice basic mount. For your partner's safety, they're going to put one arm across their chest so that you can post on that. Okay. You're going to put if you guys are both smaller, you usually can go two hands here. If you guys are giants, like really big guys, you might go one hand here, one hand here. But the big thing is the other arm's up and you go around the arm. Okay? Now I'm going to give you a tip that I didn't give in the last time we recorded this DVD, and that's instead of just pushing straight up and busting a planche here and balancing, when you do this, lean your hips to this side. So drive your hips to the arm that's up, and that will make your time in the air less. It'll take less strength and less energy out of you during the 100,000. It's a lot faster. Release the arm. Turn your body when you roll back so that you're laying literally beside them. And then after that, do a shin roll up. Come up on top. Same thing again. Bring your hips to the arm. Roll. Right back on top. Again. A big detail that a lot of people forget is I don't want taps. I would prefer not to have taps. So I prefer if you did these arm bars for that to not happen, okay? When you do the arm bar, a slide is okay, because that means your weight's still on your arms. Your weight's still in the air. But if you tap the floor, the weight just came off your arms, which means, Mace, move your chest around, like roll around. He's got mobility again. Versus, if we're planched, move, Mr. Mace, much heavier. That's how I'd like to see mount arm bars. Okay, 100,000 technique, knee right arm bars. Okay, knee right. It's kind of exhausting to put your knee in their belly like this. It takes a lot out of your quads. If you want to roll your shin across and kind of have more of a position like this, I'm okay with that. But the knee in the middle is actually easier to get the knee right arm bars. Grab their pants, grab their tricep. Okay, my big requirement here, probably two big requirements. Bring their shoulder off the mat, and you can do that. Notice I'm using my hips and my leg rather than pulling. So rather than doing this, which can get tiring after a while, I'm going to roll my hip like this, and his arm comes up. And the other one is, when you step over, slide down the pole. Make sure you catch a very good arm bar. I see a lot of people ending their arm bars like this, where there's a tremendous amount of space right here. You want to catch your arm bar like it's a normal arm bar, tight. You roll back, release the arm, shin roll up, and you usually can go right to the same position. Okay? So one more time so you can see. I like to do it like this. You can do this if you want to, though. I'm not going to stop you, but I like this. If you do knee right far side arm bar, put your hand on my knee. Okay? Same principle, just opposite side. Underhook. Okay, and we're going to do a big, think more turning your chest and bringing your arms with you, and less trying to pull them off the mat. Even though their back does have to come off the mat, you want to think turn. So we're here, turn. Slide your knee in, take the arm home. Make sure you're in perpendicular, okay? Knee right arm bars. Kimura is from the 100,000 techniques, okay? This one is pretty easy to do, but I see a lot of people, their partners tend to make it too easy on them, and they're not getting the full experience of this. I've seen people in competition before. They've been hit with the opportunity to finish a Kimura from a position similar to this, and because they hadn't done it yet in the 100,000 techniques properly, they weren't able to do it in the tournament, okay? It's that simple. And, you know, sometimes in class it happens. God forbid it ever happens in a self-defense situation that you have to do this thing. But reality is you probably should rep it properly here. Okay, I'm going to turn Mr. Mace on his side, this way. Okay, move back just a little bit. There you go. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into kind of a north-south position. And I don't have to clamp down on his head super hard because we're going to do this 100 times in a row and I don't want to hurt my partner too much. But you do want to add just a little bit of a squeeze. He's going to grab his own gi. He's going to get not a death grip, but a good grip, because I need to do good reps. I need to know what it's like to do this against somebody who's resisting. On the back side of their body, you have an arm. It goes in the middle, between their arm and their body. You're going to take the other hand, grab their wrist, and then close the trap door. Bring your chest and whole body to that arm, and keep your arms close to you. A lot of people, when I say bring your chest and whole body to the arm, they do this, but their arm's hanging out. Bring your arm close to you, too. Then make a big circle. Take your head, and I want you to go head from the floor to the wall, to the ceiling, to their back. That big circle with everything tight will make your Kimura grip break so much more powerful. Okay, now we're going over the back choke, or the rear naked choke, or the Monteleone from the 100,000 techniques. Okay? Back choke. I'm going to do the arms first, and I'm going to show you the legs just because the legs are pretty easy, but the arms, that's the tough part. When you start practicing the RNC, usually most people start with learning it like, okay, elbow in the middle, elbow down, okay, Okay, reach up, other hand cuts through, put behind their head, make sure you chop, head down, and squeeze. That's how you usually learn it in the beginning. Realistically, you're probably not going to finish it that way, okay, especially against better people. Usually when you do this to a better person, they realize that something's going on, and before you have this, like this, they already grab this hand, they start defending. So we rep the rear naked choke, or the RNC, or the back choke, like this. You shoot this arm to where it's supposed to be in front of their neck, and while that's happening, the second arm is going to be shooting behind their head. There's going to be a slight off time while everything locks up, and then you're going to release, and then you're going to switch and do the other side. Okay? Some people do the same side over and over again during their test. I'm okay with this. Okay? This is all right. But the idea is, more importantly, the catch. There is so much less time to defend with this than there is to defend with this. Okay? So that's why we work this. We want to develop a clean catch, a smooth catch. Now the legs. Straighten the legs up. They just hook. That's it. When you do the shoot on the fingers, if you pay attention and you just focus on these fingers reaching towards you, you won't hit anything. So much easier. RNC. Okay, the guillotine. Now, this, although most people aren't really good at guillotines as a white belt, they haven't really delved too far in depth with all the crazy things that you can do with the guillotine. I want to, at blue belt or purple, usually get people really, really good at guillotines. And I'm talking like Marcelo Garcia transitions and additions good. So you need to have a fundamental catch down. And the idea of this is that you develop the basics for a catch, which means the big loop, your body moves, and you bring their head into it, all happening simultaneously. He's got me in a partial half guard. He's going to stick his neck out for me and be on his side so I can practice my catches. When you do your guillotine, guys, there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can do it by pulling their head in to do your catch, but from this position, I don't really need to. What instead I'm going to do is adjust my body and get my catch. I want a deep hook where your hand is up on your chest, like this, when you catch your guillotine. So we're like this. He's got his head out for me. Deep hook. Your goal is to take your body to the submission, not grab their head and pull it closer to your body and just try to loop around their neck. We want to go body to the submission. You can do the same thing if he sits up, like this. You can do the same thing from here. Pull his head in, and you're going to bring your hand all the way through so that your body gets to this submission. So both things working together. This will make your guillotines better. When you do this with the arm, the other arm, you're going to loop your arm around and punch your armpit to the back of his neck while your hand moves up to your chest as quickly as possible. So watch. Armpit goes down, hand came up. And those things together make a powerful guillotine. Okay, the Americana from the 100,000. There's a couple of different ways you can do this, and my primary goal is that you develop fast hands to be able to catch and finish the Americana quickly. So what I would really like to see is the quick catch. Your partner, to help you do it, the quick catch, they're going to push up onto you, so they're going to do this, okay? What you're going to do is you've got a couple options. You can, from here, bring their hand down, or from here, do things to get their hand down, or put your hand down, come up with your hand. You can work on your catch like this, okay? So you can work on, he pushes up, you have your hand at the ready, and catch. It won't happen as much like this during a match, usually, but this will help you develop the hand speed you need to be able to get the submission. So, and that's really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for quick hands for this submission. When you catch the Americana, you're gonna make a rectangle with your arms, your elbow has to be on the mat, the other hand's gonna come through, and you're gonna just catch it and be done with that from there. So watch Mr. Mays push up, catch, 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 catch. Notice when I catch, no thumbs. That's a big part. Just your hands become hooks. Okay? It's almost like you don't have fingers anymore. So that is the Americana. Okay, omoplatas from closed guard for the 100,000. Omoplatas are, if you do these properly, this can be like one of the easier, harder parts of your test. Okay. What you really need to think is that you're in a rocking chair. Okay. Rocking up, rocking down, rocking up, rocking down. First off, big thing to make your omoplatas easy. When you grab their arm, the one that you're going to attack, put it next to your hip. Okay, don't try to like control it out here and move it into the right place for the omoplata. It makes it more difficult. Instead, just put it right next to your hip. The other arm, put it right in the middle. Okay? Now, when you roll back, you're going to roll back and bust a rocking chair, and while you're doing that, you're going to do a hip up and turn. You do this. When you get to this position, and you're going to be facing completely around, when you get to that position, focus on hitting the back of their tricep to put them on the mat. So watch. That makes it a lot easier. And then roll back, sit up, switch, hand next to the hip, tricep, down. Roll back, sit up, switch, down. Roll back, sit up, switch, down. And if you have a good partner, they will not resist you. If you train your partner, they won't resist you on all of these. If you do not train your partner, you will have issues. One of the last details on your omoplatas is make sure when you do these that you bring both heels down for your omoplatas instead of like trying to end in some awkward position when one leg is out. So the last thing is here. Roll back, heels down. Roll back and up. Roll back, heels down. Roll back and up. The reason you're doing that is because it will make it easier for you to finish later. It'll make it easier for you to put the opponent down and finish the omoplata later. Hip escapes as a part of your 100,000 techniques. Okay, these are normally done from side control just because it's a little bit more realistic for us to practice it this way from there. Like you can use a single hip escape usually to get back to your guard from side control. It's not as easy to do from other positions. So let's start over. Okay, hip escapes is part of your 100,000. You're going to be doing these from side control. There's only a few bullet points that you need to make sure that you hit on the hip escapes. But if you don't hit these bullet points, you really don't have a fundamentally okay hip escape. And that's a problem. Okay? One of them, Mr. Mace. Side control. Okay, first off, your partner needs to have both hands like they're almost hand diving on the opposite side of your body. Okay? You're going to frame one, frame two. Framing means no hands. You do not want to use your hands at any point during this. Okay, we're not going to use our hands. We're going to use our legs and our body. From here, he's actually putting weight on me. Like, he's not trying to kill me with super pressure. Like, you'll notice his knees are on the mat. But that's okay. We're practicing right now. This is part of 100,000. This is for me to develop the fundamental movement. This is not for him to try to kill me with pressure and me demonstrate this. Okay, so I'm going to frame under his hips, frame under his neck. From here, I'm going to use my legs to push my hips up into the air while balancing on my shoulder. Boom. Heavy into him. After this, keeping both feet on the floor, I'm going to hip escape powerfully away from Mr. Mace. Now from here, I can use my hands to help frame a little bit while I explode my hips back to the center where I'm facing Mr. Mace. Okay. You have to get back to a central neutral position. Here, Mr. Mace has to deal with my guard again. Granted, I'm on my back, and I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage, but he's got my full, like both hips, both knees, both legs, everything back in the game. Versus sometimes this will happen, and that's just not okay. We need to finish. Okay? So Mr. Mace goes back to side control. Okay? He's here. I go up and into him. Boom! I hip escape. I get my guard back. He comes around. I go up. I hip escape. I get my guard back. Comes around. Up, hip escape, guard back. Again. Again. You guys got it?